My name is Stacy Corbin, and I'm 28 years old. If you asked anyone who knows me, they'd say I'm the steady one, the girl who keeps her promises even when no one's watching. Maybe that's why what happened with Kevin still echoes in my head like a half-finished song. We met 4 years ago back when I was a junior interior designer, struggling to build a name for myself. Kevin worked in marketing for one of my firm's biggest clients. He was confident, quick-witted, the kind of man who could walk into a room and make everyone lean in. I remember the first meeting vividly, me nervously arranging color swatches, him cracking a joke that made the whole team laugh. He glanced at me afterward, grin softening. "Don't worry," he said. "They'll love your ideas. You've got that calm genius vibe." That became his thing, seeing parts of me I never showed anyone. He'd call late at night, just to talk about dreams and fears, things that made us feel like two halves of the same secret. I came from a small, traditional family where love meant showing up. My dad worked in construction. My mom ran a little florist shop, and they'd been together since high school. I grew up believing that if you loved someone, you didn't walk away when things got complicated, you built around the cracks. So when Kevin's career started taking off and mine was barely finding its feet, I made compromises. I turned down a higher-paying job in another city because he wasn't ready to move. I told myself we were a team. We'll make it work as long as we're together, I'd say, and I meant it. After graduation, we rented a small apartment downtown. It wasn't perfect, thin walls, leaky faucet, but it felt like ours. I'd come home from client meetings to find Kevin dancing in the kitchen phone. In one hand, stirring pasta with the other. He'd pull me in for a kiss and say, "Someday we'll have the kind of place that doesn't hum with someone else's plumbing." I'd laugh because his optimism was contagious. But something changed about 6 months ago. He started staying late at work. "Networking," he'd say. His phone became part of his body, always face down on the counter. When I asked about his day, he'd give one-word answers. Fine, busy, tiring. I tried to bridge the distance. I'd light candles, cook his favorite meal, even suggested a weekend away. He smiled, but declined. "Too much going on right now, babe. Next month, okay." That next month never came. One Thursday night, I made dinner, his favorite carbonara. I remember because the smell of garlic still makes my stomach twist. We sat down, and after a few bites, he put down his fork. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Stacy," he said slowly, "we need to talk." Those 4 words hit harder than any argument. I felt my pulse in my throat. "Okay, about what?" He exhaled, rehearsed almost. "I've been thinking. I love you, but I need some space. I feel like I've lost myself. I want to focus on my goals for a bit. Figure out who I am without the relationship always defining me." My fork froze midair. I searched his face, waiting for the punchline, but he was dead serious. "Space," I repeated. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means," he said, rubbing his temples, "I just need time. No pressure, no expectations. We've been together since college, and I just need to breathe." It was like he'd rehearsed the speech in front of a mirror. His tone was calm, almost clinical, while I sat there trying to steady my breathing. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked quietly. "No, no," he said quickly, reaching across the table but not quite touching me. "You've been amazing. I don't want to wake up one day resenting you because I never took time for myself." Resenting me. The word landed like a bruise. I nodded slowly. "If space is what you need, then okay, I won't stop you." He blinked, surprised, maybe expecting tears or begging. I didn't give him either. The air felt thin, my chest hollow, but I wouldn't hand him my heartbreak on a silver platter. That night, I packed a small bag. While I was folding clothes, I noticed his phone light up on the nightstand. A name flashed across the screen, Chloe W., then disappeared. I didn't touch it, but something deep inside me shifted like ice cracking. He stood in the doorway watching me. "You don't have to go tonight," he said. "I know," I replied, zipping my bag, "but you said you needed space. I'm just giving it to you." He looked at me then, and for the first time I saw uncertainty flicker in his eyes. Maybe guilt. Maybe fear of what my silence meant. I walked past him, suitcase rolling across the hardwood, every click of the wheels echoing the last 4 years of my life. He didn't follow me. At Nora's place, I sat on the couch, staring at the city lights outside her window. The skyline blurred behind my tears. Nora offered me tea and soft words, but I barely heard them. In my journal, I wrote one sentence before turning off the lamp. "You can't make someone stay. You can only stay graceful when they leave." The next morning, I woke up to a single unread message from Kevin. "Thanks for understanding. This will be good for both of us." I stared at it until the words lost meaning. Then I deleted it. Somewhere deep down, I knew that night wasn't an ending, it was a warning. Something had already cracked, long before he asked for space. I just hadn't heard the sound. 2 weeks. That's how long I managed to keep my head above water before everything came crashing down. At first, I tried to treat Kevin's space like an experiment in self-control. I threw myself into work, extra client meetings, longer hours, anything to keep from checking my phone. Nora would catch me staring into nothing sometimes and say, "He'll call." They always do. I'd just smile weakly and tell her I wasn't waiting. But of course I was. The apartment we'd shared still haunted me. I'd picture him waking up in that bed, coffee steaming on the counter, sunlight sliding across the hardwood we'd chosen together. I missed the smell of his cologne more than I wanted to admit. By day 10, the silence started to sting. I scrolled through old photos, wondering if love could really evaporate that quickly. Every image was a time capsule of something that no longer existed. His hand around my waist, our goofy grins at the farmer's market, a note he once left on my sketch pad. You make spaces beautiful, even the messy ones. Then on the 14th day, my phone buzzed. Tara, hey. I don't know if you want to see this, but you probably should. Attached was a video. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. Tara and I weren't close anymore. We'd only kept in touch through social media. My thumb hovered over play for a full minute before I finally tapped it. The clip opened to dim lights, loud music, laughter, some house party probably. Then the camera panned, and my breath caught. Kevin. He was there. He had his arms slung around a girl in a red dress, Chloe, his coworker. Her lipstick matched the wine in her hand. They were pressed so close it made my skin crawl. Someone off camera cheered, "Get it, Rye." Kevin grinned at the crowd, then turned to Chloe and kissed her. Deeply. The kind of kiss that used to make me forget the rest of the world existed. The crowd whooped, and then Chloe pulled back, laughing, and Kevin said loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is what freedom feels like." The video ended there, 20 seconds. That's all it took to rewrite 4 years of my life. I didn't cry right away. I just sat in silence, phone still in my hand, the reflection of the paused frame flickering in my eyes. My pulse thudded in my ears. My first thought wasn't anger, it was disbelief. He didn't even wait a month. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was the joy in his voice, that smug, careless freedom. I could almost hear him rehearsing it the way he'd rehearsed that I need space speech. I texted Tara a simple thank you and turned my phone face down. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too heavy. At midnight, I got up, grabbed my keys, and drove to our apartment. The streets were empty city lights smudging the windshield. I told myself I just needed closure, but really I wanted to see for myself that it was real, that the life we'd built had already turned into someone else's backdrop. When I opened the door, the place was spotless. His shoes by the rack, our framed photos still on the wall, everything neat as if he hadn't blown it all up. The quiet mocked me. I went to the bedroom, opened the closet, and began packing. My clothes, my art supplies, the few plants I'd left behind. Every drawer I emptied made me feel lighter, but also lonelier. When I reached the nightstand, I hesitated. My old sketchbook lay there. I flipped it open, and inside was that same note. You make spaces beautiful, even the messy ones. For the first time that night, I laughed a bitter, broken laugh that barely sounded human. Before leaving, I wrote a short note on a scrap of paper. The apartment's yours. Utilities are still under my name. I'll transfer them soon. Take care. I left the keys on the counter. No accusations. No goodbye. Just silence. As I walked out, I bumped into one of our framed photos, the one of us on vacation, standing by the ocean. The glass cracked down the middle, splitting our faces in half. I didn't pick it up. Back at Nora's, I lay awake till dawn. My chest ached, but there were no tears left. Just the dull throb of clarity. That morning, I blocked his number. Not out of revenge, but to protect what little peace I had left. In my journal, I wrote, "He said he needed space. I gave it to him. Now it's mine." The next evening, Nora tried to talk me into calling him. "At least get closure," she said. But I shook my head. "Closure doesn't come from the person who broke you," I told her. "It comes from the moment you stop needing them to explain." Still that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words in my head. This is what freedom feels like. Maybe someday I thought I'd say the same thing. But for now, freedom just felt like standing alone in a room that used to echo with laughter. I looked at my reflection in the dark window and whispered, "You'll learn to love the quiet again." And for the first time, I almost believed it. The days after that felt like being underwater. Everything muffled, slow, distant. People say heartbreak makes you feel empty. For me, it was the opposite. I felt too full of noise, of memories, of things I wished I could unhear. Kevin's voice, his laugh, that 20-second video that replayed itself behind my eyelids every time I blinked. I told Nora I was fine. I told my coworkers I was fine. I even told myself I was fine. But fine is what you say when your heart's bleeding and you don't want anyone to see the stain. I started running in the mornings before sunrise when the streets were still asleep. The air was sharp and cold, and I liked the way it burned my lungs. It made me feel alive again, even if just for 30 minutes. I stopped listening to love songs. I started listening to silence. 3 days after I left the apartment, my phone lit up with a familiar number. Kevin. I froze, thumb hovering over the screen. My stomach twisted, but my face stayed calm. I let it ring out. Then again. A third time. The fourth time I picked up. Stacy, his voice trembled on the other end. Oh, thank God you answered. I said nothing. Listen, he continued, words rushing out. That video, it's not what it looked like. I was drunk. Everyone was drunk. It was a stupid mistake. Chloe kissed me, not the other way around. I almost laughed. And the part where you said, this is what freedom feels like, was that the alcohol talking too? Silence. I could hear him exhale, shaky and small. I miss you, he said finally. Please, can we just talk? There's nothing left to say, Kevin. Stacy, come on, don't do this. We've been through too much to just... I interrupted him softly, firmly. You asked for space. I gave it to you. Permanently. And I hung up. My hand trembled as I set the phone down, but the air around me felt lighter. That moment, that click of the call ending, was the first time I felt power return to my body. I thought that was it. But the next day, someone else called. Jenna, his sister. Stacy, this is ridiculous, she said without even a hello. Kevin's been a mess since you ghosted him. He's sorry. Okay, you're overreacting. I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Jenna, he cheated on me. On camera. Oh, for God's sake, it was one mistake, she snapped. He told me what happened. He didn't even mean to. Then maybe he should date someone who believes accidents come with kissing and camera footage, I said, keeping my voice calm. I'm not one of them. You're heartless, she hissed. He gave you everything. The kind of man who gives everything doesn't take it back the second he gets bored, I replied, then ended the call. After that, I blocked both their numbers. No anger, just quiet. And for the first time in weeks, the quiet didn't hurt. I started journaling again, but not about Kevin, about myself. I wrote small lists, things I gave up for love, things I want to rebuild, things that make me feel like me. The lists grew longer every day. I began taking freelance design gigs, projects I'd always turned down because they didn't fit Kevin's schedule. I filled my walls with sketches again, the kind of messy, creative chaos he used to complain about. Nora noticed the change before I did. One morning she handed me coffee and said, "You look lighter." "Do I?" "Yeah," she smiled. Like you finally remembered you're not the side character in his story. That line stuck with me all day. Because she was right. I had spent 4 years trying to fit inside his narrative, his ambitions, his goals, his timing. My silence wasn't punishment anymore. It was rewriting. Still, there were moments. Nights when I'd wake up sweating from dreams that blurred memory with imagination. Kevin knocking on my door, apologizing, crying. I'd reach for my phone, then stop myself. Each time I didn't call him back, the ache dulled a little more. One evening, while reorganizing my studio, I found an old USB drive labeled Us. Curiosity 1. I plugged it in. Photos, videos, little moments of a life I'd built with someone who turned out to be temporary. But instead of deleting them, I made a new folder called Before, and I dragged every single file into it. Then I renamed the drive After. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. That night, I wrote one line in my journal. Silence isn't the absence of love. It's the space where self-respect grows. A week later, I was sitting at a cafe sketching for a client when Tara texted again. Tara, just FYI, heard some gossip. Chloe and Kevin broke up. Messy. I stared at the message for a second, then locked my phone. No reply, no curiosity. That was his spiral, not mine. Outside the cafe window, the sun was setting over the skyline, the same skyline I'd once watched through tears. Now it just looked like home. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I smiled, not because I was healed, but because I finally believed I could be. It started with whispers, little fragments of gossip drifting through mutual friends, the kind of half-truths that make people lower their voices but widen their eyes. Did you hear about Kevin? Someone messaged? Apparently it's bad. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. Some stories collapse on their own. But then Tara called me one evening, voice tinged with something between pity and disbelief. Stacy, I know you don't want updates, but he's kind of falling apart. I stayed quiet. Chloe dumped him, she went on. At a bar. In front of everyone. He yelled at her, she threw a drink, and the whole thing ended up on someone's Instagram story. I didn't even blink. Sounds like freedom's going great for him, I said, sipping my tea. Tara hesitated. He quit his job too, or got fired depending on who you ask. Some client drama, he was distracted, missed deadlines, messed up a campaign. His boss had enough. I didn't say anything. The silence stretched until Tara finally whispered, You're really not going to reach out, are you? No, I said. He's finally getting the space he wanted. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a while, listening to the hum of the city outside. There was no joy in hearing about his downfall, just an eerie calm. Karma didn't need applause, it just needed patience. That weekend, I focused on my own climb. My manager at the design firm offered me a new project modernizing a historic home for a high-profile client. It was challenging creative mind. I stayed late at the office, sketching layouts under soft yellow light, realizing I hadn't thought about Kevin in hours. Still, the universe wasn't done testing me. 3 days later, I was leaving the gym when someone called my name. Stacy. I froze before turning. Kevin. He looked smaller somehow. His hair, unkempt eyes, hollow, the confident posture I once adored, now slouched and tired. He stepped closer, hesitant. Can we talk? He asked, breathless, as if he'd been rehearsing the line for days. I crossed my arms. About what? Everything he said, voice cracking. I know I screwed up okay, but I've been miserable. She was a mistake. She made me think I needed something new, but she never cared about me the way you did. I tilted my head. And that's supposed to make me feel what exactly flattered? No, he stammered. Just hear me out. You and we had something real. I got scared. I thought I needed space to find myself, but the truth is, I was running from everything good in my life. From you. He took a small step closer, his voice softening. I still love you, Stacy. It was strange how little those words moved me. A year ago, they would have melted me. Now they sounded like echoes in an empty room. I studied him, his pleading eyes, the faint stubble, the sadness clinging to him like smoke. You love the version of me that made your life easier, I said finally. The one who adjusted, waited, softened her edges so you'd feel comfortable. That wasn't love, Kevin. That was convenience. He blinked like I'd slapped him. That's not fair. Neither was what you did, I replied quietly. For a second, he looked like he might cry, but instead he scoffed, defensive reflex kicking in. So that's it. You're just done. You can't forgive one mistake. I smiled sadly. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. I forgave you the night I walked away. I just never planned to come back. He opened his mouth, but I was already walking past him, the sound of my gym bag strap sliding over my shoulder, louder than his next words. Stacy, please don't do this. I stopped at the door, turned back once. You told me you needed space, remember? He nodded slowly. Well, I said softly, I hope you enjoy it. Then I walked out, leaving him standing alone in the reflection of the glass wall, a man watching the life he'd thrown away. That night I didn't write in my journal. I didn't need to. The closure had already written itself. But karma wasn't done. A week later, Nora showed me a text thread that had been circulating among mutual friends, screenshots of Kevin ranting about how fake people are implying that I'd moved on too fast and used him for emotional content. The irony almost made me laugh. It was the last flailing act of someone who still didn't understand what losing dignity looked like. I could have defended myself, could have told everyone the truth about the video about Chloe, about the note I'd left on the counter, but I didn't. I didn't need to, because every time he tried to paint himself as the victim, someone else quietly replied with, "We saw the video, man. Stop." By then, I'd stopped following any of it. My focus was elsewhere, on new designs, on long walks after work, on the strange peace that comes when you finally stop trying to rewrite the past. One night I came home to find Nora waiting with a grin. "You got the promotion," she said, waving the email like a victory flag. Lead designer, officially. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. As I poured us champagne, Nora raised her glass. To karma. I clinked mine against hers. No, I said. To peace. And somewhere out there, I imagined Kevin sitting in the ruins of his freedom, wondering when everything started slipping away. The answer, though, was simple. It started the night he mistook my silence for weakness and found out it was strength. 3 months passed. 3 calm, steady months where the air finally stopped feeling heavy. I'd gotten used to mornings filled with soft music and the smell of coffee that I brewed for myself, not for anyone else. My new apartment was smaller, but it felt alive. Light hit the walls just right. I filled every corner with plants and sketches. Freedom, I realized, wasn't silence or solitude, it was peace without explanation. Then one evening, Nora invited me to her birthday party. Low-key, I promise, she said. Just friends, music, no drama. But life has a funny way of testing your healing at the exact moment you start to feel whole again. When I walked into the little rooftop bar, laughter floated around me like warm air. Familiar faces, old college friends clinking glasses. And then Kevin. He was standing near the railing, a drink in hand, talking to someone I barely recognized. His hair was shorter, his clothes looser, but his eyes, those same restless eyes, found me almost instantly. The noise of the party faded for a second. My stomach didn't twist this time. No anger, no panic, just a quiet pulse of déjà vu. He excused himself from the group and started walking toward me. Nora, who had spotted him too, whispered, "Do you want me to?" "No," I said softly. "It's fine." "Stacy." Kevin greeted, voice too casual to be real. "Wow, you look different." "Different can be good," I said. "Yeah, you look happy." His gaze lingered a little too long, searching for cracks that weren't there. "I am," he nodded, swallowing. "Listen, I didn't expect to see you here. Can we maybe talk for a few minutes, alone?" I glanced toward Nora, who was giving me the kind of look best friends give when they're ready to throw a drink if necessary. I smiled faintly. "There's nothing to talk about, Kevin." "Please." His voice cracked, then real emotion, raw and unguarded. "I know I messed up. I've been working on myself. Therapy, no drinking, new job. I'm trying to be better. But I can't stop thinking about what we had." I sighed. "What we had was me carrying us while you played with matches. And when the fire started, you blamed the heat." He flinched. "That's not fair." "Neither was what you did." His shoulders dropped. "I was scared, okay? You were so solid, so sure about everything. I wasn't. I thought I'd lose myself in you." "You didn't lose yourself," I said quietly. "You just realized I couldn't be your safety net forever." He took a slow step closer. "I know it's too late, but I wanted to say I'm sorry. I thought I needed space, but I just needed to grow up. And I did. So maybe we can start over. Coffee, maybe." For a heartbeat, I almost pitied him. Almost. Then I shook my head. Kevin, closure isn't coffee. It's acceptance. His brow furrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means the door you slammed behind you doesn't reopen with an apology. It means I can forgive you without inviting you back in." He stared at me, lips parted, like he didn't know what to say. Around us, laughter floated, music pulsed, life went on. Finally, he whispered, "So this is really it." "This was it, the moment you chose yourself and forgot I was part of that picture," I said softly. "Now I'm doing the same, choosing myself." He looked down, nodding slowly. Then he stepped aside, voice barely above a whisper. "You deserve the best, Stacy. I just wish I'd been smart enough to be it." "You weren't supposed to be," I said gently. "You were supposed to teach me what not to settle for." I turned to leave, but he called out one last time, "I hope you're happy." I glanced back, smiling faintly. "I am." As I walked away, I heard Nora exhale. I swear if he'd said one more word, I'd have thrown him off the roof. I laughed. A real unrestrained laugh that tasted like release. "You're 3 months late," I said. Karma already did it. Later that night, after the party, I found myself sitting by my window. City lights blinking like quiet constellations. My phone buzzed once more, a message from an unknown number. Unknown. "I'm in therapy now. I see where I went wrong. I'll always regret hurting you. Can we talk just once, coffee, closure?" I didn't hesitate this time. My fingers moved calmly over the screen. "Stacy. I wish you well, Kevin, but there's no closure to give. That chapter's closed, and I've already started the next one. Take care." Then I hit send and blocked the number for good. The next morning, sunlight spilled across my sketches on the table. I poured coffee, stretched, and smiled. Freedom didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. And maybe somewhere out there, Kevin was still learning that space isn't freedom if you don't know what to do with it. I looked at my reflection in the glass and whispered, "Sometimes silence is the loudest revenge." Then I opened my journal and wrote the final line of this story. I stopped waiting for a closure the moment I realized I already was it.